we gonna get one tonight, boys?
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Goldstein, Stickers of the C.A.N Report. Nozzle top, everybody. I have an OG in the house. I have a great person on the C.A.N Report, and I met him at March Mayhem, and now we're talking on the C.A.N Report. Ian Bruzenak is in the house, my man from Colorado. Sir, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Really glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you, man. This is great. We had a chance meeting, honestly, at March Mayhem, and we hit it off, and I wanted to know more about you. So here we are. And before we get on the ground running, I'd love to give a shout out to my sponsors. So the Kitchen Table Foundation is one of my sponsors, helps make this stuff run. They're based out of Arkansas, and they help first responders with mental health needs that they got going on. They'll find resources for them, and they're doing great things to just help others. And they are a nonprofit organization. And they just teamed up with Coors Banquet. So any purchase of Coors Banquet, part of the proceeds goes to the Kitchen Table Foundation. So make sure you check them out and you see what they're doing. And they are, I love their mission and I love everything about them. They are hard charging here for us. So with that being said, we're going to get right into it. So my man, Ian, can you give us a bit of a background of who you are?
Yeah, sure. Grew up on the East Coast, moved out to Colorado in the early 90s. Kind of was introduced to the fire service through my uncle-ish, his involvement with things in Prince George's County in Maryland, way back. I was kind of interested in it. He ended up being one of the first paramedics out there in Camden, New Jersey. And then, so, I was out in New Jersey for a little bit, living there, came to Colorado. Introduced to the fire service through taking an EMT class because I was curious about it. I was taught by a couple of Springs firefighters, and they said, "No, you got to come down and check out fire." I go, "Okay," and that was it. Hooked ever since. Chased it right out of the gate. Was involved with a small volunteer department while I was getting a little bit of education testing. Got picked up by a small combination department out on the outskirts of Colorado Springs. Got hired by the Springs and off to the races from there, and just tried to suck up every bit of knowledge that I could along the way.
Wow. Yeah, well, you've been doing it for quite some time, but you sound like you're still in it to win it, that you're going to be around for a while and just loving every moment of it.
Yeah, truly. I had no idea what I was getting into, right? Like the volunteer department, the guy, I was working as a bartender at bouncer. The other bouncer was volunteering, and we were taking a firefighter 1 class at the community college. He said, "Hey, come down, check out the fire department." I go, "Okay." He goes, "It's volunteer." I go, "All right." I had no idea that there was any difference in fire service, none whatsoever. No difference in departments, no expectation, no knowledge of any of that. And went down there. It was pretty neat. You know what I mean? Very small place. And they had us teach what we learned that day, literally how to take a plug kind of thing. And then realized that like a vast majority of the people in that department didn't have any formal certification or any formal training kind of thing. And like I said, very small department. And then fast forward 30 days, I joined, and 30 days later, they're like, "Hey, you're going to be a lieutenant." And I'm like,
wow.
What? Huh? Right. So then I just realized, I was like, man, I better figure stuff out. Now I don't know what the hell's going on. And really kind of just got after it from there. And it's been that way ever since, you know what I mean? Learning things, learning our mistakes, trying to be better, having an idea that we can do better with things that we were kind of told in the past that weren't necessarily accurate for today's world in our firefighting aspect of it, kind of being ginger about that. But yeah, and truly, I love learning, and I love watching the machine get built to do good things.
Yeah.
Right. Our department is phenomenal, truly phenomenal. Like everything, if anybody's ever taken a class from Irons and Ladders, we teach our academy those exact classes. They get those exact classes. If you've seen Brian Lynch and I do first 5 minutes or our officer development piece to it, those are the classes that get taught to our job too. So it's kind of taken on its own animal. We're almost three generations deep in instructors right now. Like we've taught people that have taught people that have taught people that are teaching our academies now. So it's been truly rewarding. aspect of it. That's probably my favorite part now about it.
Because you're getting back, and do you love the response back from the students? Is that what keeps you going? Because as me as
Yeah,
an
I mean,
instructor, I love that. I love the bounce back of it. Like they're all this, they're absorbing as much as you can give them.
yeah, you know how it is when you go around to conferences and you're talking to people, and we're thinking like, oh, who's going to take a ladders class, right? When they were first developing it, or any aspect of this, and all of a sudden we get this influx, and we're like, wow, people were in or are in the same place that we were or are in now, and looking for change. Like, how do I do this? How do I bring this back? How do I make these positive changes? So it's truly rewarding.
And for the irons and ladders, do you guys travel all over the place, or is it based in one certain area?
It started out kind of geographically based, and it started as a force entry class out of a trailer. Um, three guys started it. It was Ryan Royal, Brian Lynch, and Nick Chappell, with a handful of other folks. I joined up with them a couple years later. I had known Brian for years, and we all worked for the same department. But I had known Brian for years at the small volunteer, or the combination department. So it started locally with a force entry class, and started to travel out right from there. It got pretty well renowned. Um, did some stuff. They did some stuff on YouTube that's still watched today about just really kind of down and dirty, truthful tactics, and tried and true on what works. And it kind of went from there. And then we expanded out and started doing ladders classes. But we travel all around the country. We've been to Hawaii, to Florida, Pacific Northwest, uh, outside of Chicago for firemanship, and kind of Texas, everywhere in between, to deliver a number of different training opportunities that we have. We do a ladders class. We do kind of a truck academy class.
Hmm.
Um, the force entry. We do ventilation, and then we have a couple extra pieces too that we do too. So it's been really good.
What makes your ladder class stand out above the rest?
It's no frills kind of stuff. Again, when we started and we're like, they were putting everything on paper on what it looks like. We're like, are people really going to take this? Like, this is not, there's nothing complex about it. There's nothing crazy. It's just coming up with a system and kind of putting a clock to it. Efficiency. Are we making the right decisions? How do we make the right decisions? On what ladders we pull? Are we pulling packages? How do we set up our truck? How do we pull everything away to shave seconds off of that? Where it before there was we laugh about it. There was a old um, training piece for our job. You had to empty the truck ladder bed,
Mm.
right? And you had to do it. I forget how many minutes you had, but it was egregiously long, right? But that was the way everybody did. It's just the way it was. And all of a sudden, we take our students in the class, and we're like, okay, and we build, the 10 practice ladder beds with 6 or 8 ladders in there, tools, and we have them throw to targets for time at the end. We're like, what do you think you guys are going to get as far as time? If you had 6 minutes or 6 ladders and a couple sets of tools that you had to get up 2 targets at a building from a pretend parked truck, what would it be? And people are like, oh, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 minutes and stuff like this. We typically have a sub 2 minute time frame at the end, and they're amazed at how fast it can go,
Yeah.
and not just by sprinting and things like that, but just simply by solid technique.
I I imagine you see it too. I've definitely seen a surge in ladder classes that
Yeah.
they've become sexy again. That
Uh-huh.
people there's a lot more classes with ladders in them. A good friend of mine, Lee Humphrey, out of Georgia, he's teaching at MAFC, and he's got a class called "Making Ladders Great Again,"
Right.
and I love that he's doing it. And it's cool to see so many people give that resurgence. And like you said, like you're shaving off time, and you're showing them that look how what you've done, what you've accomplished towards the end of the class of shaving off minutes, not just seconds, but minutes. And I mean, when I was coming up, I knew that I was scared of ground ladders, especially if I was on a call and my officer would tell me to go grab a ground ladder and throw it. Man, there'd be a little hesitation in my step. I'm sure you've seen that before, right? Have you ever
Oh,
seen that
yeah.
in your time when, like, hey, go get me the 24 foot. I need you to put it here. And they probably went like that real quick, and they stopped and they had to think about how they were going to throw it and do their thing.
Yeah, it's ironic, we're taught, or at least I was taught, in our academy that, like, you pull these ladders off and they're like porcelain, it's kind of things or something like this. I'm like, so truly identify, we're like, hey, they're not porcelain, you know what I mean? They're tools and they're pretty heavy duty. They could take a little bit of bouncing around. I'm not saying abuse them, but like you can toss them around a little bit. And we're so, oh, you have to do this and this and hand this and everything like that, right? Don't slide the halyard through your hand and blah blah blah. The list goes on, right?
Yeah.
And you realize that, hey, that wasn't necessary. I get that they were teaching a process, but in reality, it's not necessary for the tasks that we're trying to perform. And one of the things about Irons and Ladders is that, I mean, they're just a humble group of guys.
Yeah.
We're like, if you got a better way, like show us. Like, I want to see. Like, I truly want to learn, and we'll dump stuff out. We've changed classes along the way, or even through our lecture series and stuff like this, we take stuff out. We're like, yeah, that's not really applicable anymore. We can take that out and shift and do something different. But yeah, sure. You see that hesitancy at first, and we're like, nope, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's show you how to do it. Just because the 6'3", guy that's 220, 240 gets up there and can high shoulder this thing like it's no tomorrow. You know what I mean? You get somebody smaller stature, we're like, hey, there's methods to get this done within the same time frame.
And that's it right
Take
there.
that.
When you got a guy that just can, just lift anything, and he's got the height, and it's like you just throw it. It's with ease. But then somebody my height, that's where you have to learn that technique, and that's where I love taking ground ladders classes, because any little edge I can get, I'll take it. So because it's definitely can be cumbersome, especially when I start throwing a 28 or a 35. Like that's going to be very difficult. And I'm sure for a lot of people out there too. But I'm almost 5'6", so
Yeah.
like that's going to be difficult for me, and I have to find those different techniques and those little edges that I can get, and that's why I love taking those classes. The big guys, they still love taking them, but it is definitely
Mhm.
easier for them to muscle it around and just throw it like it's a rag doll. But for guys like me, I always love taking the ground ladders classes to learn that extra way, and that way I don't have to throw out a shoulder or throw out a back.
Yeah, I mean, right. That's exactly it. It's the technique. It's how we're pulling stuff off the rig. It's, hey, how do I package a ladder? How do I get my ladders off my engine quickly? Kind of the same thing with tools. If all of a sudden you pull up and you're on an edge and you got a 2414, what does it look like? How do you have your ladders loaded for usage and things to make that happen as fast as you can? We've got a video at the end of the reality of ground ladders, which is like this comedic kind of structure fire that these guys go to, and it's our guys. And they're trying to pitch this ladder under a carport that's got a car. They have to drag it right across the hood of this car. We're like, oh, just bought that paint job, right? Pitch it up over this fence because they can't get it in the door. And then it hooks the top end of a walker that's out there. And they're trying to throw it. It's got a walker hanging off at the end of it, right?
Yeah.
And the reality of everything is that, like, when those curveballs come, your basis that you're built on, your ladder techniques comes through.
Yeah.
That's where it pays in dividends, when all the fences are falling down, all kinds of, but whatever is happening, that you can still pull that stuff off.
Yeah, absolutely. And what made you honestly like the ladder work and the ground ladder work?
It was just something that we were kind of lacking a little bit. We felt, um, again, that long process to get ladders from the back of the truck. We started, as we looked in general on our fire attack or our fire scenes, we started looking at time, and we got our engines after identifying some things that our stretches are sub, minute and 30 seconds from air brake time that they're flowing water. Well, the truck's got better keep up with that stuff now. So what
Yeah.
does that look like? Right. So we don't stage the truck out. First truck goes in with the engine. I'm talking about single family stuff. Um, and they're off the rig, tooled up, getting ready to go, pulling ladders in a ready position,
Hmm.
getting moving. They're not waiting for this thing. You can look at our general movement off the truck. We're going to search, we're going to vent, right? So we're going to need ladders, we're going to go to the roof, or we're going to go interior. We're going to force entry too. It's a very basic set of tools that we're going to need on most of our single family stuff, barring some crazy curveballs that come at you. So why aren't we off the truck, tooled up, ready to go in our
Hmm.
teams and moving? Um, So really kind of out of necessity and just the love for the truck work and like, I want to get in on the work. I'm not going to be like late to the game. There's
Yeah.
no way.
So, we got to meet at March Mayhem, and
Yep.
we had the pod class,
Mhm.
and that was fantastic. That was awesome. And we were talking about truck work, and also I think it was search as well with that. And I didn't know who the hell you were.
Right.
I mean, it was pretty crazy. We were supposed to have somebody else up on stage, and all of a sudden you hopped on. I'm like, wait a minute. You're like, no, it's cool, man. I'm Ian. And they were like, yeah, it's cool, man. He's Ian. So, but we had a great conversation, and you hit a lot of great stuff on there, and the questions were really great. I wish I had them in front of me because there was people asking
Mhm.
great questions about truck work and about opening up roofs. And there was a person though that asked about tile roofs. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yep.
And I thought it was an interesting question because the question was, how do I get my chief to let us open up a tile roof, to let us work on a tile roof? And I couldn't remember did you answer that one?
We had parts of, we have tile roofs in our city. We don't have a lot of them. It's not our bread and butter stuff. And so we kind of talked about that and said, you know what, the guys to hit up are the Florida guys, or the Arizona guys that do have those roof, or California too,
Yeah.
but we kind of came to a quick consensus, and we've looked at it across the country, right, through the highwaymen, because it's a group from all around the country, right. Is that we're looking at a break and rake kind of operation inside there to clear our spot where we're going to be cutting and see what we got underneath. That's kind of your only aspect to it, and see what materials off of it. You get off the ladder, and you have to identify what you're standing on
Yeah.
in a circumstance. Yeah.
And man, there was just so many good questions like that, and like this out of left field, and you answered them like you were just leading again. You were just leading the charge and answering a majority of those questions. And we did talk a lot about I think it was like search as well. And do you teach that as well? And is there any particular areas that you hit on with that?
We do teach search. We have it in our kind of our truck academy class, which is an all discipline kind of piece. And then our guys teach search at our academy right now for our department. Um, Key indicators for now are just covering all those bases, all your areas as fast as you can, whether it's window based search, door based search, extending, um, you know, uh, uh, to cover that area as fast as we possibly can, um, and just doing it quickly, um, not being afraid of those aspects, understanding the fire behavior aspect of it, understanding the timing that the engine's got with hose line going in there. Our hose line on our job, they go in, put the fire out, the nozzle goes to the window, starts hydraulically ventilating, the heel peels off and searches, right? So our trucks, pretty much for the most part, know that area where that nozzle is sitting at with their heel is getting searched. So they're going to go search the other areas.
Yeah.
And it's all about time, all about time. And we want to bring good air in with us, and the ventilation aspect of it, and make that decision making process whether we are going to do a vertical vent, or are we just going inside based on our manpower and response times and arrival times and things like that.
Um, as we were talking about search, I was thinking about the split search. Do you still see some pushback from a lot of chief officers or even training officers regarding the split search? I love it, but I definitely I know I've seen and I've heard people in the more of a higher ranking positions not a big fan of it because they feel like you're too much separation and that you're going to be too far away from your partner.
Sure. We teach it, we do it. It's widely accepted on our job. And now it is a case by case issue. We decide on the rig. I look behind me for the day or the first half of the day, and then somebody else comes in for the second half of the day. And if I know the person, work with them, and I'm comfortable with it, and then we get to the fire and I'm like, hey, let's split on this. We'll split. Now, my normal crew that I'm with all the time, I'm going to honestly say that we probably split search like 95% of the time, 98% of the time. If we automatically split, unless I call that we're not going to, or he calls
Yeah.
that we're not going to, right? Now, I'm not saying go out and do that tonight, right? This is a training aspect.
Right.
Our training academy, they get this in the academy. There's no, interim. There's no like baby step through our academy. They get everything that's out of the line. We've worked really hard to kind of put that in place. Um, so, I mean, I hear about it a lot. We search without hose lines. We always have, right? So that's kind of been our background anyway. So the move to the split search was fine. Now, the one thing we were a little bit slow on was like if we were VESing or VEISing, there was people that were like, you cannot go beyond that room, right? That is not what that is. And so we terminology it out and said, hey, conditions are favorable, we're extending, kind of thing.
Well, you said
Uh,
it earlier. It's a window oriented search.
right. And
So
so
I
that's
mean
why
that, and
yeah,
that's the thing. And there's a thing to get stuck on right there. Right, we could talk about that for a little bit. Is that people get stuck on those acronyms and they make it like it's gospel, and that you cannot pass go because I VEIS, so therefore I cannot go past that door. But yeah, you're damn right you can. Like you just said, if conditions are favorable and you're doing your search because there's search in that acronym, do your search. Like if you don't have to isolate, great, continue on. But yeah, we get stuck in those acronyms, and then you see, especially in the students, because they're trained in that certain way, and then they stop at that door and they come back to the room and they do, they complete the search and leave the window. But it's like, hey, did you search the rest of it? Because you have no conditions. Like, keep moving.
right. It's great. It's acronyms to me are like my passwords that I have to remember for work, right? I've got like if I can look at my phone and go through all the acronyms that I'm supposed to remember, I really don't. I get them, right? It's a basis for learning, I guess, is more of the way I looked at it in the past. But at every fire we attack it, we vet it, we search it. What I mean? There's those rooms, those methods that we can do.
Yeah,
Back to a window-based search, right? Our ancient statewide firefighter one certification hands-on testing. There was a window-based search sheet that they had to pass in there, which was exactly VES and extending all in one. But it was
yeah.
just a window-based search, right? It's just a way to get it in the house. So we've moved past that. I hope that people generally are moving past it. I feel like that is. Uh,
And you're right. I think the still. I think it's just the way you teach it, right? Like, because we do the search, we do the VES, and then we search that. We go right to the door. We close that door. Then we search the rest of the room, and then it's done. But like, well, if you still have conditions that are favorable and you can do the search, then maybe lead on and then isolate those other rooms. I guess that's really should be the hitting on. Is like, you've searched, you can extend on, isolate as you're searching, right?
right.
Like I think that's the point that got missed, and so that's that training scar, and then it's it's almost at that shield that you cannot pass go anymore because you only can isolate one door, and then you got to move back to the window. But and that's where that these outside classes are so beneficial because the textbook way is good. It gives you the fundamentals and the foundation, but like you need to be able to think past that and not be robots. You need to be working free thinking firefighters and be able to go, okay, I can continue on down this hallway. I'll search these rooms, close the doors as I'm searching to show that I've completed my searches. And then, if you encounter something, you can make your way back.
Yeah, it's just kind of whispered down the lane thing where or our skills are perishable over time.
Hmm.
And you have to revisit them pretty consistently, let alone if you're instructing this and you're not covering all the same those very nuanced pieces in there. So that becomes knowledge for people. And then that repetition and training is required, right? And that going back every whatever time frame that you need to maintain those skills and that kind of whereabouts that, hey, these are my decision making process. This is where I'm going. And it's, over time, it's when things are just kind of not talked about anymore. You're not revisit. You don't have that table talk where you throw up a picture of a still picture of a fire. Like, okay, what are we stretching on this? I don't need to hear the textbook size up, blah, 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 right? We're not testing. We're not in a testing scenario.
Yeah.
I want to know what line are you stretching? Where are you going? What does the layout look like inside? What are you at? What are you going to search? How are you going to search it? What are we thinking for vent right now? I get it's a still picture, but what are we thinking right now? You know, that's the conversation that you start to have. Then you can throw in, okay, what are you going to tell for our new guys? What are you going to say on the radio when you're doing this? What
Yeah.
does that look like? And fine tuning that. But you have to revisit it.
Yeah, you're always just training your brain. And again, like you just said, like those table talk discussions are so key. Like just hang out, and we do. I actually, it's fun. I get to do that in my department. We will sit,
Yeah.
go to the whiteboard, and just start throwing ideas around and looking at stuff. And honestly, I think it's key to look at your previous fires, like literally, like pick them apart. And it's not to shit on anybody, but I mean, damn, like I don't think we do that enough. I don't think we do like again, like a football game, a basketball game. Like they're always playing those tapes back and looking at what they did right and look what they did wrong. What did the opponent do? And what did we do to defeat our opponent? It's the same thing with a fire. Like that's our opponent. Like what did we do right to win? But where did we get some fouls? Where did where did we screw up so we can have a perfect game? And I think that when you pick apart those events and look at it as, you know, it's really key. And I think we definitely should have more of that.
Yeah, you have to be humble in what you're doing, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it's been a little while, but like I ate absolute shit on a fire, right? Stumbling across, not paying attention to what I was doing, right? And somebody caught it on a little bit of helmet cam, right? Me like doing that like full yard stumble, trying to catch myself and whatever, and just eat shit. But I mean, like, yeah, you make mistakes. You make mistakes. You know, if you're like, oh, you know what, probably could have done this a little bit different. I didn't like how I did not say get down and sprawl inside the front door on that one. That I don't like that at all. I was too concentrated on something else.
Yeah.
You know, so what does that look like? But you have to do that. And you got to be able to take a couple punches every once in a while, you know. Feelings matter though, I guess. Uh,
I guess.
you know, I'm old, right? So I grew up in a different generation where feelings did not matter.
Yeah, and it's like but like right there, like the feelings at that and back in the day didn't matter. They would tell you straight in your face, you fucked up.
Yeah. Right.
And but you know, I think having a better delivery when you're watching the videos, again, it's not to shit on anybody, but to
Sure.
say, you know, and that's not just what the person did getting off the truck, but how did you position? How did you, where, you know, how did you, where was the water source? And could the ladder truck position it better for a better scrub area? Would it would have been better if the engine took the driveway or not take the, all those things I think are so key to be able to play them back and look at them and see where we could have done better, because the textbooks and the videos of other people's fires are great, but let's look at our fires. Let's look at our area. Take a picture of your area, color it with fire and smoke, and then say like, hey, what would you do on this? You know, and I know some departments do that, but I just think it's so beneficial to play that what if in your district. Don't look at other people's fire videos, but really look at your district and especially previous events and see what you what could have been done differently.
Yeah, and our department has come a long way. It used to be that there were like you could not our critiques or whatever were not really
Yeah.
good, right? And then it slowed and started to change, and it's really good. And now people are like, "Hey, what did that look like to you guys from the outside? Did you guys see anything?" So they were pretty open to it. Our hot washes afterwards are pretty clean for the most part, and then there's always a follow up conversation and phone calls to your mentors or some of the guys that taught you before on what do you think about this? How do you think that went? So we're pretty open to that. We're not a we're not a vindictive department or a punishing department like that, because we just want to be better.
Yeah, I love that, and that's key to growth. Is, you know, is
Mhm.
you have people that just want people to be better, and you do it as a team. And also to backtrack, I fall all the time, so
Yeah,
you're not dealing. I I fall upstairs. I fall
yeah,
out of trucks. I don't know what's wrong with me half the time. You think I'm drunk or something. Dude, I fell out of with my previous department, driving up in the engine, and we're going for a simple building inspection. And I was the inspector at the time, and I'm on the truck, and we're rolling up. And I went to get out, and I don't know what I did, but I fell out of the truck. But instead of trying to eat shit on the pavement, I grabbed onto the door and I rode the door out. And the guy's
yeah,
just waiting for me, and he's just waving. And the rest of the crew is like, "Don't worry, he does that all the time." Like I don't know what it is. I got videos of my ring cam at home falling down the stairs. I don't, just something I do. I'm just a klutz, I guess. So, but yeah, I mean, those are fun. Actually, those would be fun videos to watch all the time. And if I fell on the scene and like ate shit, yeah, I'd own up to it. But you always got to be thinking of what you did and how you did better. And like again, I'm always bringing up like my father-in-law. Write in a log of your fires, what you saw, what you did, what you didn't
Sure.
do, and you go back and make sure you fix it. But I love that you say like it's with growth, and it's not to shit on anybody.
Yeah, I mean, humility, right? Everybody
Humility, yeah,
started someplace. Everybody is in a place in a learning process, and you can always learn,
yeah.
right? One of my first searches was we get off. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I thought I looked like Superman coming off the truck. I'm sure I put the pack on in 3 seconds, grabbed my tools, was at the front door like lightning, right? Which is not probably correct. I probably ran around in circles. I was so blind, I don't remember any part of it, right? I remember getting to the door and then going, "Hey, we're going to right hand search," and that's when we did the hold on to the pant leg, hold on to the walker. Right?
Yes.
So we go in, go right, and all of a sudden, like, I'm in a corner, there's shit on top of me. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm trapped already," right? Freaking out. And the guy kicks me in the bottom of the boot and goes, "Stand up, dummy." And I'm like, I stand up and I'm inside the coat closet that's inside of every single house in America, right? Right inside the front door. But that's learning piece, and that's okay,
Hmm.
right? When you're in various portions of your career, you're in a learning position for all of those new positions. So it's okay to do that stuff. We have to be open about that because that's how you learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, fuck, everyone makes a mistake. It's okay to make
Yes,
mistakes.
right. How do you
That's
fix it? How
how
do
do
you
you fix
how
it?
do you come back from it?
That's it. And
Right?
then when you have, but when you have an environment and you have officers, you have a chief that makes you feel like you can't make a mistake. That's the hard part, right? And that's where you're going to make more mistakes, or you're going to do your damnedest to cover up that mistake, and then therefore no one learns from it. Because maybe you made it and you didn't actually see it, but somebody else did, and they're like, "Oh man, I'm not going to do that again." Like I learned from that one, but that's my biggest pet peeve is just when you're afraid to fail because you have
Yeah.
an officer that is going to rip you apart because you made a simple mistake, not an egregious mistake. You made a simple mistake, and you're man enough to own up to it, and you turn around and go, "Yep, I fucked that up, but I'm not gonna do it again." Like, and your chief be like, "Yeah, at least you caught it. Cool, man. I get you." But you got someone when they rip you apart, like that's not a learning process.
No, I mean, and we had it, right? You used to have to pull up on scene and your size up and your assignments better be spot on,
Yeah.
right? And you were supposed to do all of them from like the cab, right? Where now we give that arrival report and then we give a size up as we're walking around, and we might make a decision, a move for an assignment based as we're inside the cab and start to move, but we might change it up, or I might say, "Hey, stretch and hold in the front yard." Um, Truck A come in and two vent, which is our standard move, right? Which is a search and a vent aspect, two teams, to kind of cover those bases. But I might change it up once I get around the backside. I'm doing a 360 if I'm on the engine that day, or whatever the case is. But have the ability to back up and change.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a whatever. No, hey, we have fire coming out the back. This is a walkout basement. We're gonna do a Charlie side attack. Stretch the line around here. We're gonna go interior on the lower level.
Yeah.
There's nothing to that. We should be welcoming that, right? I always tell people like I want my scenes to be absolute chaos and mayhem. Like take all the curveballs and throw them at me at the same time. I absolutely love that. So but that requires you to be able to kind of stop, pause, reevaluate, change, and do it quickly, and have a Rolodex of the things that you're going to say and how you're going to address those things, right? There's a handful of curveballs that you know about. You're going to have a manpower issue, an access issue, a tool issue, or a different fire problem that you're normally used to, right?
Hmm.
And then anywhere in between those things. So those known potentials, you should be able to rebound from. It shouldn't be like, "Oh my God, can we get back in the ring and start this over again?" Right? No, you just adjust.
Since we did also talk about like tool issues and talking about roof stuff, let me ask you your opinion on gauges on saws. What do you feel about them?
We take them off.
Yeah.
Always have. There was a time where we were required to keep them back on there, but uh, they were always as far back as they possibly could. Um, I guess there probably is some circumstance where that might be good if you're on commercial and you're kind of pulling up some of that styrofoam or whatever, and you are using a chainsaw to kind of dice that stuff up to get down to the Robinson decking or whatever's underneath there. And you do know the depth, it might be okay. But that really comes down to a training issue and just getting a good feel for the saws,
Hmm.
you know. And we kind of identified that with us, and so now, right, we have a training center that's got a big giant vertical vent prop. Right there, it's got two big kind of rolling rafter props too, where you get that practice feeling with the saw. And
Nice.
at each double company station, we have a smaller version of that that's available, so those guys can go out there and do that on a regular basis. So it's tactile, and when we get our new kids coming through there, they're on those saws and they're running that stuff too. So we're trying to kind of we want to make again that so that doesn't perish. Those skills don't perish quickly.
So you're not cutting pallets on the roof. You're actually cutting.
Yes,
Thank God.
correct.
See, that's a kind of like my pet peeve. I think honestly, I feel that's a training scar right there, is that when you're cutting pallets, you're not really getting a good rep in. You're not getting
No.
that education of how the saw is rolling over those rafters. And you're not even getting the feeling of how you're actually slicing through a roofing, like the material. And
Right.
you can see like it's just so not the same. And yet I don't know why we continuously use pallets. I know that's because it's cheaper, it's easier. You take it out, you put it in, and I get you're getting saw work, and I understand that. But the actual rep of knowing how to plunge and roll, that is a skill that's missing when you have pallets in place of an actual roof.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I could jump on a like significant tangent here,
Please
or a
do.
soapbox a
Let's
little
do
bit,
it,
right?
man.
So, yeah, for sure. So we identified, and through the Highwaymen, and then through Irons and Ladders and our job, we identified like you can teach a monkey how to cut a hole in some OSB on top of it, even a formed out, you know, 8 by 8 foot with two sheets up there. You step onto it from the ground. How to cut a good hole. The nuance to it is how do we get to the roof? Once we get to the roof, then what does it look like when we sound across?
Mm,
Are we practicing and getting training scars to where we don't do a good job doing that? You know, so we said, okay, how do we address this? And so we have a number of different props that we do. We do full size props. Our props are gigantic. Even if you do, we build them at firemanship, or they're out there at firemanship, and then we had them with the Highwaymen in Florida, where we just built a kind of a flat wall, basically, right? 2004 on center, tilted up, sheeted, but it's big.
yeah.
So you can come up, you start sounding from there, you get your spacing down between your hook and your saw, and that movement is identical every single time. So that
Yeah.
builds the repetition of the whole good operation in there. We build a sounding prop where it's I want to say it's a 28 foot by 20, no, probably 32 feet by 24 feet, something like that, where it's trussed, probably about 4 feet off the ground, skirted. We shingle it, put gables on there, roof vents, and then we set it on fire. We set an edge on fire, and then we
Nice.
let it burn to a place where we want it, and then we
Mm,
put it out. Then we have crews come up afterwards, and we have them sound from one end coming across, so they get the repetition and they get to feel the change in the decking, where they go, hey, let's stop. This is no go. We're going to go back over here. We're not cutting there,
yeah.
kind of thing. Right. So it builds that safety aspect up into it, but then the repetition. Then we tell people, hey, go out in your back apron, paint a 16 by 16, 24-inch on center on the pavement if the cap will allow you, or do it in the grass. So when you cut it, it gets, you know what I mean, it disappears. But when you go run the saws like you do, when you warm up your saws, however, whatever process you do to run your saws daily or however it is, go out there and move across and understand what 24 inches means in your
Or get
step. Go
chalk.
through your saw cut, your
Use
entire
chalk
cut.
use chalk on your
Yeah,
driveway.
you know what I mean? So the options are available out there, but it's that repetition, that constant revisiting of that, and understanding the entire process. Do it on build large props. I get it cost a little bit more money in the beginning. There's ways to offset your reoccurring cost
Yeah.
in there, you know. But
Oh,
yeah,
I
so
love
that training
it.
aspect is it can't be beat.
No, and I love that you were touching on. I was hoping you were going to say it, and you said it with the introducing smoke and lighting it on fire, because that is it changes all the dynamics of cutting a roof when you got smoke and fire blowing out of there. And man, like when you were it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're cutting a hole and you can't see because you're gonna have smoke coming out. You got to be able to again now trust your senses, the other senses of now feeling that and understanding where you need to cut next and how it's gonna work, and just the reaction of when you open up.
Right. Yeah, so when we do this prop is we don't open the prop up, and it's not like a live fire prop. We have done vent over fire props in the past and played on them, and that's a great tactile and learning aspect of it. But what we wanted to have available was a roof that went from good roof to bad roof,
Hmm.
and have our crews have it available all year round. So each academy that comes through, we have them come out and watch. We set it on fire, and then our crews are up there sounding, and then we say when to put it out, and then we put it out. So it's completely out and cold, but it's just that damaged roof. It's like getting on a roof after there was a fire in your district, right?
Gotcha.
Everybody goes across and they go, "Oh, you feel that? Oh, you feel that?" That's what we have at our training center on a regular basis that we run the recruits through right from the very beginning. So they don't wait till they get on the line to actually feel like what bad roof, whatever you want to, however you want to describe it, crunchy, spongy, whatever
Mm,
aspect is.
that's
Uh,
awesome.
Eventually, when we do get money, the actual event over fire prop was on the books. But like everybody else, budget stuff like this,
Yeah.
we chose to go with that sounding prop because we wanted that safety aspect of it, and it keeps some of our chiefs that we weren't always a vertical department.
Yeah.
And so there's still questions out there sometimes about that stuff, like there is everywhere.
Yeah.
So this kind of, we alleviate and kind of pacify or alleviate through training and understanding what we're doing.
That's
What we're,
awesome. I
yeah.
love that. I love that you went down that hole, man. That's fantastic. And and I never really had a love for it. I've started to grow a little bit more with doing roof ops, especially because taking outside classes again. I learned so much from just that, just simple techniques. Like I'm sure you've got to know who he is, Sandy, from the Colony, Texas, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, that dude loves roof work, right? He loves
Right.
saws. Like that guy can
Mhm.
tell you everything all day long about saws. And I'm Sandy. We're gonna get you on here, by the way. We've been talking back and forth. It just doesn't seem to happen. But he taught me just a simple technique of using the saw differently, and instead of doing your angle cut, plunge it and do the
Uh-huh.
pendulum swing. And man, that saved my back out of
Right.
everything. And it
Yeah.
was such a more controlled cut of walking with it like
Mhm.
that instead of actually at my angle, stretching my back over it and trying to do that. Like it was a game changer. And that's what I love about these classes is that, yeah, you learn the textbook way, you got through the academy and maybe your department still does that. But then you take classes like yours and you go to March Mayhem, you go to Bears of the Oath, you go to Dagum, you go to all these great conferences, and you got people like you that are teaching these new ways. And like that was it might not, for some people, it might not have been huge, but for me, that really changed a lot of how I can cut better with actually, and you could feel those rafters better too. That was
Sure.
something I noticed real different because I had more control of the saw. I can feel it going over a lot better than trying to stretch out with my pack on my back.
Mhm.
So those things are just those little tips really help.
Yeah, your body mechanics mean everything. We harp on that significantly, right? And then let alone when we get on steep pitch, everybody doesn't have a steep pitch that they practice steep pitch on, right? Which when you get on a steep pitch, it's entirely different.
Yeah.
Your body mechanics have to be different, or else you're going to fall off the roof. You're going to tip over and fall off the roof, right? Because it's too steep. You can't stand like you normally stand, right?
Yeah.
There's even to a place where you're going to kind of be standing, kind of leaning against the ladder and reaching out. That's a whole different cut and process to be able to do that. So yeah, absolutely. The body mechanics behind it is part of that learning process that you do on a tactile piece, right? It's getting from here to there and all the little pieces in between. And then when you start getting that stuff down, then when you pop a good hole, now you're not like tunnel vision and you can actually like sit and like watch and be like, yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I
like
did that. I
really,
did that.
really enjoy that. Like
Yeah.
understand really. And now you're paying attention. Now you're looking at, has my smoke disappeared from my up coming up across my soffits, right? Is it all coming vertical now? Or do I need to extend or go to a different spot? Did I get the right spot? Yeah, the sides of the house look great. This thing's working perfectly. everything's coming out. So
I
yeah,
love it.
that's money at the end of it. For sure.
That's cool. I mean, because honestly, there's people that have gone their whole career, maybe never cut a hole. And that's okay,
Right.
right? But
Yeah.
like, and that's where that training, that constant training can come in. And that day that it happens, you're so prepared and you got
Yeah.
that good technique and you can walk away and go, yeah, man, I did that. Like that was badass. And it might have been that might be the first and only time you ever do that, but that's something to write in that journal that I've been talking about. Write that in that book and
Sure.
write how you did it and the joy you felt by getting that cut on that roof and getting the job done.
Right. It's like Force Entry, right? We have these props now at every station or like all over the place, right? And everybody's really, like really, really, really good at it. And so we make the doors a little, they're hard. The doors that we practice on are harder than 90 something percent of the residential doors that we're going to go to, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like a letdown when you get in there because you're like, oh shit, that
Pop
was
so easy.
easy, right? But then it's like, but now you're ready to do the next. Yeah, you did that fast. Good. That's what we're supposed to be doing, right? It's
Yeah.
done. Now we're moved on to the next
Yeah.
task. Then when you get the stuff, you get an outward spigot commercial door that's got concrete in the jam and there's no give whatsoever. Oh shit. Now those techniques really come into play for that. Right. So you have the whereabouts to be able to shift between those things. That comes with training. So I
Yeah.
hope that happens with roof work. I hope everybody gets a sounding prop at their station, full size props, paints the stuff out behind the station, and runs that stuff on a regular basis to make it almost like it's boring, for the most part,
Yeah.
uh, but
I,
rewarding at the same
I
time.
think that's cool. In my department, we actually have, we used to have, well, we got a new, no, I guess people still have up. We have, we have printouts of saw work in certain stations and it's showing the pattern of cutting it. It's like one's on the bathroom stall door. So when you're taking
Yeah.
a crap, you're just looking at the
Yeah.
pattern and it's
Look
all,
at
it's all numbered and stuff, which cut is first and second and third. And,
Sure.
so every time I'm taking a crap at a particular station, I'm always looking at that saw cut. So I was like practicing it over in my head. But it's cool to be able to hear that. And like, I love the props that you're talking about because like you said, that's just going to pay dividends in the end and understanding it and going over and over again. And like you said, till it kind of becomes boring, but if it becomes boring, then introduce some little other factors in it. And then, each time that becomes boring, then you need to up it a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, when you come across something difficult, then now you talk about that, and that becomes the next teaching piece because they're out there. There's crazy stuff out there. You're gonna stumble across it, or somebody's gonna, and to have that in your Rolodex sitting back there ready to go is a good thing. And
Yeah.
having those fundamentals obviously means everything, But then, constantly looking at like what can we do different, what can we do better, and recently I'm landing on this ventilation aspect of it for our fire seats. We get in there and we force the door. We're taking windows. We might cut the roof. A fan will come up, but we don't continue that process until the secondary searches are complete. And I'm kind of like, well, why aren't we doing that? Because
Mm,
you've all been in there, right? The fire's out and you still can't see shit. And you're waiting around and you still can't see shit. And you still can't see shit. And it's like forever. You're bouncing around and stuff like this. Well, that to me, looking at it, like I don't think that's acceptable anymore, right? It's not clear in there until I can take my mask off and be okay, right?
right.
Or our secondary searches are complete, which identifies, hey, we've searched this thing twice and we're confident there's nobody in here. So why aren't we continuing that process and being that aggressive to where it's clean inside there?
Hmm.
We had a fire the other day. It's a good garage fire. The man door is cracked. It was a raised ranch, house full of smoke, a little bit of extension, tiny bit past the door, not a lot. Uh, Crews went up to cut because it was kind of up into the soffits and pushing out a gable a little bit. They started to cut and they were told to hold off. I'm inside searching. I said, hey, open that up. I need the roof opened up for
Yeah.
visibility for search. Right. And that terminology to get across, because otherwise it wouldn't have been a fire vent cut. Right. So at the same time, the nozzle's stretching interior going down the stairs. I say, hey, as soon as you get that hydraulically vent out the front door, command, have somebody bring a couple fans up to the front door.
Hmm.
And so it happened really quickly. There was almost no smoke standing inside this house, and it was almost zero biz.
Wow.
Like almost when we were done, when they ran the meters through, because we do that before we start kind of picking up or our investigators get there, the CO levels were zero. And I can only attribute it back to that we did all of the vent very aggressively until it was clean inside there. And I'm like, well, it was like this light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, well, why the hell aren't we doing this like all the time? And I know we kind of think we are, but I don't know if we're really paying attention that we are.
That's a good point of view, man. Like, yeah, it's just, I think it's something that gets missed because we're so quick on wanting to get the job done and and get the cleanup but we got the tool. We got the tool in our hand. We got the nozzle to be able to hydraulically vent. So start doing that, like you said, and then start whipping in those fans and start moving that smoke. And I know like usually for the overhaul part, like we do, like for at least for in this general area, we're actually pretty darn good about it. Like we make sure we can see. And once we can see where everything masks and come off, we actually do readings. We have our meters with us, and we're making sure there is no elevated readings inside that building. And then we let people remove their masks. And some people take it a step further, and they actually issue N95s to the guys working inside when they're doing overhaul, even though their masks are off. But you still obviously have all that dust and everything else kicking up in the air, right? So some people actually take it a little bit step further, and they make them wear masks when they're actually, especially for the fire marshals divisions, when they're going around kicking things up. So it's cool to see it's becoming I see a little more prevalent in the New England area, where they are doing their due diligence and cleaning that whole room out and making sure that it's breathable and they can see for everybody to do their job.
Right. I mean, well, we should be doing that during the fire attack, because eventually a person in there, like we're worried about the people afterwards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying we're not worried about the people during, right? But it becomes that it's not really on the forefront. And what really brought it to my attention was, Chief Brian Brush's look at the civilian deaths percentage increasing over time per fire, basically, from the 80s to now. Right. I'm like, well, why is that happening? Right. Because our stretches are fast. I know our searches are fast. Our ladder works good. Why is that happening? And I'm like, well, this could be I don't know, but it's something that we can make a pretty quick change on, or push a little harder on.
No, yeah, it's great. Yeah. There's always something to look at. And I love that that's the angle you're looking at. And I think that's really cool, because it's something that not a lot of people think about. And it's cool that you all of a sudden like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna look further into that, because maybe that can actually help play a factor into our victim survivability.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like you do that with anything, right? Like I'm getting older, right? I'm not I know it. I can't sugarcoat it, right? It's the way it is, right? So when I get in the rig, I got to be fast to keep up with my bat, right? I got to be, I have to get to the door with him real quick, right? So I'm like, every little tiny corner that I can do to make it faster, right? Like I'm reaching back near my seat and like wrenching my elbow, trying to get back and turn the bottle on as we're pulling up. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, just getting ready, right? Because that's going to save me like 5 seconds at the door, right? And then I'm in with my guy. So you got to be constantly kind of looking at what can I do better? What can I do faster? What can I do more efficiently? And then what does it mean for the people, right?
Yeah.
That's the litmus test is always bounces back, right? Anytime there's any question about anything. Well, what's better for the public out there? What happens? Time, right? Ben Schultz that talks about when seconds count, right? They're drowning in smoke, right? How long are we going to stand at the edge of the pool and look at them while we're doing stuff instead of preparing on the way up, right? And getting them out. So all those half seconds, those dozen half seconds, and then the couple, 4-second moves, all that adds up to significant time. And we've seen it with our stretches, with our ladder work and everything like that. So why don't we do it for everything else?
Oh man, absolutely. Friggin' nailed it with that one. I love that. Absolutely. Great point of view for sure. And actually on that, it's trying to save seconds. I guess the things I see too is like a learning, not scar or whatever, but it's just kind of like, you always see them like get on their knees when they're masking up. Right. And I never I think it's just an academy thing again, like that's why they've always done it. And then I'll see that, especially when we're doing our training, I'm like, get off your knees. Why are you on your knees to put your mask on? Now you have to, again, you're shaving seconds, having to get back up again, like mask while you're walking up to the door. And then now you're ready to rock. Like those are just those little things. Like you said, you're reaching back, turning on your pack, getting that ready, just that little edge. It's the same thing with masking up. Like you don't have to get to the door, drop your tools, drop to your knees, put your mask on, and then stand up and then make entry. Like you should really already be making that movement as you're walking up to your house and getting
Right.
ready to rock. And that's again just training and thinking outside the box. And honestly, I think it comes also with having a couple of years on and understanding that you can make your lives a little bit easier if you do it a certain way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was funny. We did one of our summer drills and I'm walking up and masking as I'm walking, and the guy running the train, running the whole drill, he's watching the whole thing. It's not his fault. Let me say that up front. But as we're going, he's talking to me. He's telling me what I'm supposed to be seeing. Right, the whole like the pretend thing, like, oh, you've got this. This building is actually this. I'm like, okay. As I'm masking, go, and I go, and we do our thing. Well, in the critique afterwards, he goes, "Hey, you came off the uh, truck with your mask on. We don't normally do that." And I'm not. It wasn't the place for me to have a conversation. Yes, sir, no problem. Right. But my chief watches all those drills and stuff like that. And he comes up to me afterwards and he's like, I saw you were walking across and masking up while you were right. He just missed that aspect of it. I go, I'm not hurt by it. I get it. I understand it. He's got a bunch of other stuff going on. But that's exactly right. That helps me save my time, right? Because my guy's not going to go in there and do all that stuff by himself. Because I'm selfish and I want to get in there and have fun
Yeah.
and get that work done too, right? So yes, all those aspects of stuff, that walking, masking, everything, and looking around, paying attention to everything.
Yeah.
And it comes with time.
Yep. Absolutely.
But, yeah.
I hear sirens. You got to go.
No, that's PD. Yeah, that's cops going by.
Awesome. And I missed your class when you were at March Mayhem.
Yeah.
And what did you teach when you were in Idaho?
It was with the highwaymen, and we did our roof class.
Okay.
So we do a walkable pitch, a non-walkable pitch, two different flat roof aspects of it, and then a saw portion, maintenance and general saw knowledge stuff. So I was doing steep pitch with Calvin from outside Atlanta. I can't believe William's going to kill me.
But it was a good class, and you
phenomenal.
Yeah,
it really is. You know what I mean? That group that we teach the roof stuff with is really awesome. I mean, it's people from around the country, right?
Yeah.
So like you have like Rob Fisher, you have Neil Dickey, Chet Berg, Jeff Merwick, William Knight that runs it, Brian Matson that's just retired out of Seattle. So you have this, Arthur Ashley, right? Jason Johannes. You have all these guys from all different places, right? Come together, and we talked about when we first met up, all the different aspects of our geographic locations, weather, construction features, things like that, and found the similarities and then understood the differences too. And so we kind of teach all those different aspects of it. So it's a really, really, really good class. So we did the steep pitch. So we did kind of pig work for footing, ladder work for footing, Milwaukee type cut, using a Nupla hook as footing, and then cutting some footholds, different body mechanics, how to move around on the steep pitch portion of it, why we're cutting, where we're cutting, kind of thing. That they do the walkable, and then the different aspects for the flat roof. But it's
awesome.
it really is a great class.
That sounds like it. And as we're winding down, where else are you going to be?
We're going to be up in Irons and Ladders. Going to be up at Firemanship coming this July. Towards the end of July, we're going to be doing our roof class up there. We've got a sounding prop up there, 2 giant walkable pitch, and then a multi-section flat roof. We also do a rig to roof portion in there, and then we do a lecture piece in the beginning too. After that, I'm sure Highwaymen are going to get picked up and doing some other stuff, various places, and we'll kind of see where things go from there.
That is awesome. Well, and if anyone had any questions, where can they or how can they find you?
They can look me up on the Facebook.
The face.
You can go to the Irons and Ladders website, or the Facebook, or the Instagram page for Irons and Ladders, and ask something in there. But look me up personally. That's fine as well. Probably a little bit easier sometimes too. We try to get into all that stuff, but we're not always great at it. Brian and I still do lecture pieces around, so we've got our lectures that we'll go do different places. We're going to start to push that out a little bit more. We kind of stepped back a little bit in the numbers of stuff because we were doing large conferences for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then kind of stepped back. But we're looking at getting out to do some more lectures as well. But yeah, irons and ladders.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I meant to ask you earlier, do you teach anything other than that? Is there any other fields or areas that interest you in, whether it's fire service or outside the fire service? Is there some kind of like other aspect, whether it's leadership or mental health, or is it physical fitness? Are there any other kind of aspects in life that you like to teach or to talk about?
We get into, Brian and I do a leadership piece for newer officers. Uh, we do kind of we call it a first 5 minutes. It's an academy-based class based on all our kind of everything all at once. And so doing those to me is pretty important. We also do a piece on we do just a truck only kind of orientation on how our job runs trucks. We take into account size of the department, number of people, staffing, and things like that, and kind of do a massage it to do a more of a unique approach to whoever's asking us to come out. And then changing the organization. We'll sit afterwards. Sometimes if they want to talk about that in the larger group setting, we could talk about some of that stuff. But a lot of times we'll talk with smaller groups on, hey, what does it take to make this change? Because we went up against some significant stuff in our past. And we've identified how to navigate some of that and without all the heartache and getting the feelings out of it, and more kind of a more efficient way to get the information out there properly and not get bogged down into some of the aspects. We'll teach a class and somebody inevitably will run back to their station and try to get in this argument with a guy that's been anti whatever they're talking about for years, and they get blown up.
Yeah.
Right. So we try to tell in each of our classes, we're like, listen, there's a lot of science. There's a lot of background for every class, for every slide that we have in one of our presentations. There's probably 10 on the floor that we've used in past presentations that we've altered. So the background information is really important. So I'm always like, if you have difficulties with this, reach out to me with your questions and I can give you a little bit better direction, because that takes time to learn. It's a lot. It took me forever, and I'm not the brightest.
I highly doubt that, my friend. But I tell you what, it has been a great conversation. I really do appreciate you being a part of this and being on the C.A.N Report. And man, it was awesome meeting you in person, listening to you talk at March Mayhem for the pod class. The way you were able to just field all those questions, and the audience, if any of you are listening or watching that part of March Mayhem, you all killed it in the pod class portion, because that was badass. It was the first of its kind, and to be able to have so many people asking so many different questions, it showed that it was really beneficial. So I love giving the opportunity to the audience and to the students to have their questions answered. Sometimes you don't really get that opportunity, so I'm seeing it happen more. So I'm loving the questions that everyone's asking, and I love that the instructors are so open to just sit there, because that's what we're here for, is to teach them. So and to get to know each other too. It's like that was a really great opportunity for everyone to just know who everyone is. And I mean, I learned who Ian Bruzenak is, so that was super beneficial for me.
Yeah, I tell you what, that was a great format. That was phenomenal. That is a grand slam in my books, as far as like the lecture series piece attached on with those hot classes. Yeah, and William was up, just couldn't make it up there, and so I'm like, well, shit, I'll go up and talk for a while. It's tough.
Yeah, and you nailed it. I'm just like, I'm so happy you did. Yeah, because it was great. Like, you had such great sage advice, and the way you delivered it was really super helpful. And I could tell the audience was really responding from your answers, and the whole interactive portion of that was just so key. So, well, we'll have to keep doing that and see what happens next year. And I hope to see you again very soon, my friend.
Definitely. Thank you very much. I really, really, really appreciate it. I love doing this stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, with that being said, you all stay safe, be well, and here it comes. Nozzle top.
Nozzle top.
Awesome.